and strengthening its members to thrive in a vibrant world rather than holding them back. One that understands and values national identity and sees the diversity of Europe's nations as a source of strength. I feel this very personally. The attitudes of my predecessors at this dinner in previous decades were very understandably shaped by the events of 1945 and the need to secure peace on our continent. The experiences of the Second World War gave birth to the European Union we have today. But for me, 1989 is the key date, when Europe tore down the Iron Curtain and came together as democratic nations working together right across our continent. So what needs to change? Of course, the immediate answer is growth. Europe's arteries have hardened. As a continent, we're slipping behind, growing less fast than the rest of the world. European countries have indulged in debt and overspending and looked uncertain, or even worse, when confronted with the consequences. Unless we all get a grip on growth, the European Union will remain an organization in peril, representing a continent in trouble. And now every member of the European Union can see it. That is why Britain's EU growth plan is focused, together with other allies, on promoting open markets, flexible economies, and enterprise. And it's why we must continue to work with the European Commission for the completion of the single market in services, the opening up of our energy markets, and the scrapping of the bureaucracy that makes it so hard to start a new business. European countries account for 50% of our trade and much of our inward investment. Leaving the EU is not in our national interest. Outside, we would end up like Norway, subject to every rule of the single market, made in Brussels, but unable to shape those rules. And believe me, if we weren't in there helping write the rules, they would be written without us, the biggest supporter of open markets and free trade, and we wouldn't like the outcome. For too long, the European Union has tried to make reality fit the institutions, but you can only succeed in the long run if the institutions fit with the reality. For years, people who've suggested doing less at the European level have been accused of not being committed to a successful European Union. But we skeptics have a vital point. We should look skeptically at grand plans and utopian visions. We have a right to ask what the European Union should and shouldn't do, and change it accordingly. As I've said, change brings opportunities, an opportunity to begin to refashion the EU so it better serves this nation's interests and the interests of its other 26 nations too. An opportunity, in Britain's case, for powers to ebb back instead of flow away, and for the European Union to focus on what really matters, to underpin prosperity, stability and growth. This is the kind of fundamental reform I yearn for, and I'm determined to do everything possible to deliver it. Finally, if we are to earn our living in the rest of the world, we also need to forge stronger relationships with countries like Brazil, Russia, India, China, Turkey, Nigeria, and South Africa. I've led trade missions to 6 of these countries, and the Deputy Prime Minister has also taken business delegations to Brazil and other countries. Now, one former Labour minister called this low-grade mercantilism. That comment says so much about what has gone wrong with our foreign policy in the past. We forgot old friends, we missed new opportunities, and damaged Britain's interests as a result. I am proud, not embarrassed, to fill planes with businessmen and women and head off to visit the most vibrant markets on the planet. I'm not intending to reduce international relations simply to a commercial agenda. In dealing with other countries, their politics matter. But when the politics are troubling, the answer isn't to deal with the politics and put the trade on hold. We must be bold enough to try and deal with the politics and the trade at the same time. In September, I was the first British Prime Minister to visit Russia for 5 years. Now, of course, there are things on which I think Russia is in the wrong. The Litvinenko case, Magnitsky, Khodorkovsky. We can't pretend these differences of human rights and the rule of law don't exist. They do. We should always be a champion of human rights, and we should address our differences candidly. But we should not allow them to define and limit the whole relationship. It is in our interests and Russia's to offer British companies new opportunities to trade and to invest. It's in our interest and Russia's to support Russia joining the World Trade Organization and to develop our partnership in key growth sectors like science and innovation. Shared prosperity is one of the best ways to ensure shared security. I simply refuse to accept that we have to choose between politics and trade. I believe we can advance both. Here we are, in the City of London, the centre of world trade and commerce from commodities to currencies. This is the place the planet looks to raise capital, to float a business, to set the price of goods which will power the world economy. No other market on earth can match the City of London for the range and scale of its activities, a place that has always reached out to the world. This country has always been at its best when it projects its influence, when it stands up for its values and defends its interests. Open, outward-looking, engaged, knowing that success at home can never be separated from what happens abroad. To get the best for Britain, we must always reach out to the world, and that is what this government will always do. Thank you.